Well, we're going to Flatbush in this one, girl.
East Flatbush.
Yeah, you're right. Have you been? I don't know if I've ever been.
Very important distinction.
Okay, great. Hi, Jillian Benzavali.
Hello, Patrick Hines.
Fam, I got some dates. They're coming in hot, and I'm dropping them on you right now.
Oh, boy. Everyone better watch out.
Watch out. Get on your calendars and write it down. You know how we do drag bingo on the Patreon for everybody at the $5 level and above, right?
Yes.
So I want to let you know we've got our 2 next drag bingo dates. The first one is June 15th at 7 p.m. That's the June drag bingo. And then the July drag bingo is July 12th.
So you're telling me the July 12th one is in July.
Is in July.
The June 15th one is in
It's
June?
in June. You see, now you are paying a hero bell for you paying attention.
I'm going to write that down.
Okay, please do. The drag bingo is the funnest thing ever. I will never win. I once did 4 cards at once. I still didn't win. I'm never going to win.
I maintain you won, but you just didn't know because
too
juggling 4 cards is way too much.
Tell them what else they get if they join the Patreon.
Oh my God, you get everything. You get ad-free versions of these episodes. You get the series that we're covering, like all the long-form stuff, like Quiet on Set and all that. And then you get like after parties, and sometimes we send you stuff in the mail, depending on the tier. There's like a lot going on.
I'm not sure when this is coming out, but I'm telling you, we're starting our recording of the Jinx Part 2 very soon. So that is coming at you hot and fast.
It is.
It's Bob!
Oh God, I just hate him.
Maybe I'll do the impression this time around.
Maybe.
It's
that would be great. Good luck with that voice of yours.
I know.
We don't need your voice
in the
injured
hospital
again.
I know. We can't take it. Girl, tell me what we're talking about today.
All right, so hi, welcome to the bonus episodes. We do this every once in a while for you.
Yeah.
This is, I believe, our 10th one.
Oh my God.
It is an episode of New York Homicide, which is a show that we cover quite a bit on this program.
Yeah.
This is episode 3. It's called Deadly Spell.
Yes, it's the murder of Edna Pierre-Jauques.
Yes.
She was the matriarch of East Flatbush, Brooklyn.
Mama Edna knew everyone in that neighborhood, and everyone knew her. She loved making people laugh.
Forever 21!
Everyone loved her.
But somebody wanted her dead.
What would take over someone to do something like this?
Homicide investigators begin with those closest to her.
Within hours of his wife's murder, everybody knew that he was in an estranged marriage.
Her husband was in the house at the time that this happened.
But other possibilities begin to surface.
At this basement, it was a full-fledged gambling location.
This could have been somebody coming to collect the debt.
We said the name Edna, her body just started to rock. She knew what had happened.
But how this would end, no one saw coming.
It was something I've never seen before. This is voodoo. Witchcraft.
So like I said, we're going to Flatbush Avenue. We're learning about Mama Edna.
She's the matriarch.
We're told in this vibrant West Indian community, Mama Edna is known to all as a pillar of the neighborhood, a maternal figure to many, and a pioneer from Haiti. We're going to learn that in this Jewish-Italian neighborhood, Edna and her husband were the second Black family to move into this neighborhood.
Yeah. So Mama Edna's from Haiti.
Yes.
And we are told that she brought her Haitian culture to the neighborhood. And this is a quote, which includes the widely misunderstood religion of voodoo. Can I give you an insufferable GP fact?
Are you kidding? You're insufferable. Didn't we talk about this last time?
I
You're
know,
not
but
allowed
now
to
that's
say
like
that.
the name.
But okay, great. Because they're always so, it's like it's a knowledge bomb. Tell us everything, GP.
So voodoo, as we say it now, that's sort of like the misunderstood pop culturized version of it. That's always like evil and dark and whatever. That's not what it is. It's actually pronounced like vodou or voodoo in different ways. I'm not going to say it that way because I feel like an asshole saying it that way.
We're not going to try to appropriate it by saying it correctly.
But like so the voodoo that like when you say it like that, normally that's like some cultural appropriation, like Halloween costume bullshit, stupid stuff that we don't do.
Yes.
But it's actually, but voodoo is a very, like, I know people who have practiced it who are from Haiti. But it's real. It is very misunderstood in pop culture. But we know that voodoo, like that saying it the way we're saying it is like sort of the appropriated, like, like Englishified, Americanized bullshit version.
Yes.
Of this very real religion.
Yeah. And many people in Mama Edna's community all practice it. They were all curious about it. The kids grew up asking about it.
It's real. It's a real thing.
And we'll get more into it like as we get into the episode. But they say,
unfortunately, it's right within her very house where voodoo powers came into question in her shocking death.
voodoo powers came into question in her shocking death.
Right. So Monday, February 27th, 2017, we're in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, and Brianna is Mama Edna's granddaughter.
Yeah, it's a cold February night, they say. Brianna is 16. She's with her mother, Marjorie, who is Edna's daughter. So it's 3 generations. They're driving down to Troy Avenue, which is where Mama Edna lives, and they're on their way home. They're going to stop by Mama Edna's house because Mama Edna had gotten a gift for Brianna that Brianna's like, I need to go get that now, please.
Yeah, Marjorie needed to pick it up, and so she's like, hey, Brianna. I think a lot of moms do this. I wouldn't know, but like you send the teenager in.
Of course.
I'm going to leave the car running. You go run in and get the gift. We'll see Mama Edna tomorrow.
Let me just tell you quickly, we have a doggy daycare that we take Golden to, and Daisy is now 10, so we will drive over to the doggy daycare and let Daisy take the dog down by herself.
Cute.
She loves the freedom and like the feeling of a big kidness of it all. And I'm like, girl, joke's on you. I'm never getting out of this car ever again.
She fell for it.
She fell for it.
Now, like, she likes it. In
totally.
6 years, when she's 16, when she's Brianna's age, she's going to be like, are you
Dad,
kidding?
you bring the dog down.
Are you kidding me?
I know. I'm not even speaking to you, Dad.
God.
So embarrassing. God.
You're going to, like, really miss these 10-year-old days.
I know, where she still wants to hold my hand sometimes.
She does.
She pretends that she doesn't, but then I'm like, well, good, I don't want to hold your hand either, and then she'll hold my hand.
Look at that.
I know.
Cute. So Brianna is running in to grab this gift, and Brianna, again, the 16-year-old, she walks in and she sees the light on in the living room, but Mama Edna isn't there.
Yes.
And she's like, this is weird. Like, she wouldn't just leave the light on.
She says, like, if Mama Edna's not in the living room, the light would be off. Mama Edna seems like the kind of lady who turns a light off when she walks out of a room.
Yeah.
Very unlike one Patrick Hines.
Right. Oh, are you like, you're leaving everything on. The faucet's on, the fridge is open. Just like,
God, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
know.
Yes.
What did you always leave? Like the half and half or
the
whatever?
half and half out on the counter.
Ugh.
Still do it.
Also half and half. Half and half is like one of the only things you don't want to leave on a refrigerator.
That's actually true.
What is the like shelf life on that? It's like 10 minutes.
Yeah, but also, why are we putting cold half and half in our hot coffee?
Because it works.
Yes. I mean,
It works.
I mean, I love it. I mean, Lord knows I love half and half.
Well, then treat it with respect. Put it back in the fridge.
You know what?
I just think the thing that like is going to curdle the fastest,
I know.
take care of it. Throw it back in there. It's not that big.
No, you're making really solid points all the way around.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
Oh, man.
Okay. So, yeah, the lights are on. That's weird. And Brianna's like, what is going on? So Brianna goes upstairs and has the traumatic experience of finding her grandmother's dead body.
It's really terrible.
I looked inside her room, and that's when I looked to the ground. And that's when I seen her body. I don't know why in my head I'm thinking she's sleeping or something, but that's when I seen blood.
But at first, Brianna thinks her grandmother is sleeping.
Yeah, I mean, I think your brain is like, wait, what? You cannot compute?
I cannot imagine it.
And so Brianna immediately goes and tells her mother. They call 911. Now they're looking for the grandfather.
Yes.
Now, he stays in a separate room. That's fine. But he comes running out, and he's like, what? Because, there's a lot of commotion, obviously, from Brianna and her mother.
Yes.
And he comes running out. He's like, what's going on? Like, I didn't hear anything.
Which is, we'll get into this, too. He's Mama Edna's husband. He sleeps in the room. He, lives in the room next door.
Same apartment, different bedrooms.
Yes. And, he was clearly there when this happened.
Right.
So we got to look into him in a minute.
We will.
Yeah.
So the first responders come, and Mama Edna is pronounced dead. And Brianna needs to process this. She needs to take a walk. And she's also calling other family members and people in the community to let them know what happened.
Additional first responders arrive on the scene. They're processing the scene. To them, it becomes clear that Edna didn't die by accident, but they're keeping this suspicion from the family because they don't want the family to know that, maybe some of them could be suspects.
Right. So they don't tell the family it's a murder, but the first responders do call the NYPD.
Yes.
And Detective Nelson shows up.
Yes.
So, all these neighbors are outside. Again, remember, Edna was a pillar of the community. Everyone knew her and loved her. So this is a commotion outside. And everyone's there.
We're going to meet a lot of the neighbors. People didn't just love her. She lived in that neighborhood now for generations. It feels like kids who are now adults, grew up at Mama Edna's house.
Yeah.
She was known for her cooking. She loved the kid. She was not just a pillar of the neighborhood. She was the neighborhood.
Yeah. Jacqueline says,
I grew up across the street, and Edna was like a second mom to me. All of the kids that I grew up with used to hang at Miss Edna's house. We ate at Mama Edna's house. We played in her house.
We were eating at her house. We were playing. It was a safe space for everyone, and everyone's parents or family members knew, like, oh, of course you're at Mama Edna's.
Of course.
It was the safe haven of the community.
Yeah, and so Marjorie, who's Brianna's mother, is like telling everybody, like, my mom is dead. Like, this woman that we all love and revere, she's dead. And she's like...
the matriarch.
Yes. So Jacqueline, who we just met a minute ago, is saying that, like, it just knocked the wind completely out from under. Like, what a shocking thing. It's, 8 o'clock at night. You see the commotion in the yard in front of this woman's house that you all love and revere, and now you're finding out that she's dead.
And the thing is, I would assume that at least a handful of them probably just saw her.
Yes.
Because I get the sense that everyone was seeing her all the time. People were coming in and out, or she was sitting on her front stoop, probably not in February. But I'm just saying, like, people probably just saw her. Right? So that's another thing. Like, we hear that all the time. Like, I just spoke to them. What are you saying to me?
And speaking of, this is the first time we hear of a person named Tamisha.
Oh.
Tamisha, we'll come back to her more later, but she was really close with Mama Edna. Tamisha is one of the neighbors gathered in front of the house. And Brianna says that, like, when Tamisha finds out that Mama Edna is dead, Tamisha is heartbroken. She's just beyond, just as sad as everybody else out there.
Yeah, it's interesting because we don't meet Tamisha.
Right.
We hear about her briefly, and in my notes, I'm like, we're going to get more information.
We're getting more
I've done
Tamisha.
this a time or two. I know what a little drop-in means. It means keep your ear out for Tamisha because she's coming back.
Correct.
Right.
So 20 minutes later, Brianna's sister arrives. Her name is Tatiana. She says she tried to, like, we see this all the time. She tried to run into the house, but she's stopped by the police saying she can't go in. And this is the first time the police tell the family, you can't go in because it's a crime scene.
Right.
And, like, this doesn't make sense to anybody because Mama Edna was beloved by everybody. Who on earth would want to hurt her?
Right.
Brianna, the granddaughter, doesn't believe. She's like, what are you talking about, a crime scene? That's not even possible.
Yeah. So the cops walk us through that crime scene.
When we get to the scene, we do what we call a walkthrough. We don't find any forced entry to the doors, any forced entry to windows.
When we got to the crime scene, we do what we call a walkthrough.
Thank you.
we do what we call entering the home.
Yeah. I appreciate it. It's always someone's first episode of something. Like that guy who explained the statute of limitations to us.
Yeah.
But I appreciated it because then I took my judgmental hat off.
Yes.
And I said, you know what? This could be someone's first documentary. He's just learning about it.
Gilberto really cares about solving this. I think he really just wants us to be as crystal clear to everybody as possible.
Well, they walk through the house.
But he's like, we did it's a police jargon. It's called a walkthrough.
Okay.
It's
like, if you're going to do police jargon, do it for real.
We'll talk about the vehicle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We apprehended the vehicle.
The suspect.
He went northwest. He went that way.
Yeah.
We got the guy and he went that way.
He went towards the Burger King.
He was going that way.
Yeah.
And we got him.
But
the end. One of the many reasons I would never be a police officer. No. I couldn't get the jargon. And I would be like north. Wait.
We say vehicle, not car. We say vehicle, not car.
I'm out.
Now I'm trying to imagine, because I know you don't like driving. I'm trying to imagine you driving a police car like around the neighborhood. I can't imagine it.
For like a lot of reasons.
I can't imagine.
Ooh, tough crowd. Let's burn it all down first. So
they see there's no forced entry. They go to the second floor. This is where they see Mama Edna lying in a pool of blood.
Yeah, there's a bloody hammer. There are signs that she fought because she has broken fingernails.
Yeah.
Evidence of strangulation around her neck. There are a lot of wires and cables on the floor. Like, it's a mess.
Yeah, and this is where Detective Nelson says, like, there's something about seeing an elderly woman laying dead on the floor that just touches you. Because he's like, it could have been my mother. It could have been my grandmother. And he says, you just get in a mode where you want to do everything possible to find this person's killer.
And so they start asking.
The first question the detectives asked me was, do you know anybody who your grandmother had problems with? And I was like, we are speaking of my grandmother, right?
Hi, you must be new here.
Right, exactly.
She's a pillar she's Mama Edna.
Yes.
She makes the best food in town.
Yes.
Everyone loves her. She's my second mother. Who are you again? You're new. Like, how dare you even ask
likes
that?
to play music in the morning while she's making coffee and baking fresh bread and dance. She likes to dance to her Caribbean music. I am obsessed with this
Now
woman.
Ask me that again.
I know.
Does she have any enemies?
I know, because it's
Do you have any
Tatiana.
enemies? Detective, now you do. How dare you ask that?
Yeah, no, exactly.
God, new here.
Oh, God.
So, Mama Edna's backstory. Her family is from Haiti.
Yes.
And like you said earlier, they were the second black family to move on to Troy Avenue.
They came in like 1968. My grandfather owned his own mechanic shop.
Edna was a seamstress when I was younger.
My grandparents had 4 kids. And my grandmother, she was the glue. She kept the family together.
And Mama Edna was a seamstress. My grandmother was a seamstress.
I always forget that.
She was a seamstress. She made all my Halloween costumes.
Oh my God.
She was the best. Yeah.
Steve's mom.
I can smell that space because they lived in like one of those 2-family houses in Queens, and downstairs was like her business.
Oh my
so like
God.
I can smell it, like the tomato with the
You had such an
pins in it.
authentic New York growing up. Like that's amazing.
She had all her like sewing. If you know, you know. She had all her sewing stuff in like the cookie tin and the tomato with all the pins.
Oh, the
in
tomato!
it.
I even know what the tomato with all the pins in it is.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
If you grew up with anyone sewing,
Yeah.
like what else did you put the pins in?
Yeah.
If not a tomato,
It's
I don't
funny,
want it.
Because we had that, but my mom definitely never sewed.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Maybe like for a button, like just
my
for...
butch lesbian mother was not what you'd call a domestic goddess.
I had to like YouTube how to sew a button once.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
for every other
You
time I
always
have to
stick
sew.
your thumb.
Oh, it hurts.
Every
That's why you use that with a thimble or whatever. They're onto something.
They really were. I was just going to say really quickly, Steve's mom made one costume for Steve when he was a kid. It was a tiger costume, and it had been preserved, and now it's been handed down to Daisy.
Cute.
And so now it goes to all the cousins. So but we have a picture of Steve at Daisy's age next to a picture of Daisy
That's
wearing the same
adorable.
costume. How cute
That
is
is
that?
so cute.
Judy, you are knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
You want to hear something else?
What?
Judy's coming to town for 4 nights.
Judy's coming to town.
Listen to this. So Steve and I can do what? What do you think Steve and I are going to do so that Judy's going to have to stay with Daisy for 4 nights?
Something real gay.
We're going to go whitewater rafting.
Oh my God.
Whitewater
Never
rafting
mind.
with
I was wrong.
We're going whitewater rafting with a bunch of gays.
Okay.
It's 120 gays in Colorado, all going whitewater. We're going.
Why?
I don't know. But apparently you're allowed to bring booze in the boat. It's 6 people
All
to
right,
a
well,
raft.
this has been fun, everybody.
Do you think I'm ever coming back?
No. Boozy whitewater rafting. You know what you're going to do? Sign your life away
I know,
on some
I know.
ironclad
Yes.
bullshit
It's true.
piece of paper. Bye.
Yeah. Boozy.
Off you go into the whitewater raft.
120 gays going whitewater
You know
rafting
what?
in Colorado.
Hug your family tight, gays, because you're not coming back.
I'm not coming back. You're right. I'm not coming back.
Pretty dangerous.
I'm not going to survive it. I went whitewater rafting one other time. I fell out of the boat.
Okay, well, let's do it again, but add booze.
I know. Oh, God. Anyway, Edna and her husband had 4 kids, and they say that Edna, of course, was the glue that held the family together. And, once again, we just get more about how everyone came to Edna's house. Jacqueline's like,
Everyone used to hang at Miss Edna's house. She used to do our hair. All the kids in the community embraced her.
Forever 21. Forever 21.
Mama Edna loved telling jokes. She loved making people laugh.
I want to hear one of Mama Edna's jokes.
I know. She loved to dance. She loved music.
I know.
And Jacqueline's like, her food was the best. Her food and her smile. And
Yeah.
it's like, I just learned everything. You know what I mean? Like,
I
just the way these
know.
people are talking about her.
I know.
Does she have any enemies?
I know. And I will say, too, we get a fair amount of video footage here that, it's so nice to get to see these people come to life a little bit, you know?
So let's talk about the husband, Frederick.
Yes.
Frederick lived in the house. They had separate rooms, which I don't always think is a big deal.
Yeah.
But he was home. The big red flag to me in this moment is I don't care that he has a separate bedroom, but he was home.
Yes.
And then did this whole I didn't hear anything.
Because the room was so close, the room shares a wall, it seems like, with Mama Edna's room where the murder happened.
Right. So he tells the cops, he's like, I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. And I was like, oh okay.
Because the cops are looking at a spouse is standard operating procedure. We were going to look at this guy anyway, but now the fact that he's saying he didn't hear anything, I don't know. That's very odd. He's got some explaining to do.
And also, though, if we go back to Brianna, she discovered this scene and then he came running out once, there were lights and sirens.
Yes.
So it's not like he I just think that's worth noting.
No, I agree. And the detectives search Frederick's room for any signs of foul play. This is something that we don't really get a lot of resolution to.
We get zero resolution.
They find something strange.
There was a book open to a specific page. The page that it was open on, it had the title of How to Get Rid of a Witch.
How to get rid of a witch.
Yeah.
And it shows, the instructions are, you write the name of the person on a piece of paper, then you burn that piece of paper. They find a piece of paper with Mama Edna's name on it and a candle that has, just been lit.
And it's a bunch of burnt pieces of paper.
With her name on it.
Right.
So, he was trying to get rid of her through like witchcraft.
But like get rid of a witch. Like, do you guys see the irony or the stupidity?
Yeah.
Or like you don't see it. You're so close. But
Yeah, it is very strange that it seems like he was trying to employ this tactic to get rid of her somehow.
Also, if you don't want to do the fire thing, you can just put their name in the freezer. Just real little tip. Look it up.
Really? How about 5 names going in the freezer as soon as I get home?
I'm just saying, if you don't want to cause a fire hazard, put their name in the freezer.
Detective Nelson says that he and his partner looked at each other and they were like, this is witchcraft. Like, this is voodoo. Now, the cops are gonna tell us here, getting called to scenes where voodoo has played some sort of role in the crime in this neighborhood is not unusual.
Yeah, because they say that there's a big Haitian community in East Flatbush. Sometimes people are using it as an excuse.
Yes.
Because again, like we're saying, like this whole like witchcraft voodoo, they're two completely different things. And so this is what this show is not really saying very well here is what we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Like people are using like the voodoo that we know in this Americanized culture as an excuse for like, I went crazy and then killed somebody and so I couldn't help it. I was possessed. But that's not what the actual religion has anything to do with.
No, but they're saying like this happens a lot that people are pretending. Like they said they've been to basements where chickens have been slaughtered.
And they're like, and they weren't going to cook with them.
Not to cook with, right.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So like, Tatiana, we get a little bit here from the relatives and a reporter named Jacqueline, another Jacqueline.
Yeah.
They're telling us a little bit about voodoo. And Tatiana, Mama Edna's niece, is saying,
voodoo, some people, they might think it's like witchcraft and like, oh my God, spells and stuff. But no, voodoo is religion. That was my grandmother's religion. It wasn't anything crazy.
Voodoo is a polytheistic religion, so it's a lot of channeling people and ancestors that may inspire you.
Channeling people and ancestors who may inspire you.
Yeah.
What's
interesting is that when you Google it, if you Google it, you'll find that it's described as both monotheistic and polytheistic. So there are a lot of layers to this religion that always just get lost in like pop culture.
And misunderstood and misreported.
And like whatever.
But they say that having found the papers with Edna's name on them in Frederick's room, the husband, like he looks good for this.
I mean, there's no forced entry. He was home. It's just not looking good. No matter what you believe or whatever, like burnt pieces of paper with someone's name on it and they're dead in the next room and you were home the whole time.
The statistics that like the spouse is usually the number one suspect anyway.
Start with the people close and you work your way out.
Yeah. And so they ask Frederick if they can interview him down at the precinct and he goes willingly. And like, you have to remember, they say like the front yard of this house was packed with the entire Baptiste family. They say it's 20 people deep.
Yeah.
And so they're watching Frederick come out of the house being loaded into the police car. And they're like, what the hell is going on here?
Right. And everyone's like, did he do it? He must have done it. Like it's basically like a perp walk, essentially.
Right. Yes.
Because the entire community's there.
They're talking to the neighbors, the cops are. The neighbors are confirming that Edna and Frederick sleep in separate bedrooms. They barely talk to each other. And yes, she practices voodoo. Like it seems like they've solved it.
Yeah, because they speak to the community and they want to find out more about like her spirituality and her religion. And they learn that she is described as a spiritual healer. So people were going over to Mama Edna's house for a lot of reasons. But one of them is that she was a spiritual guide for them, a spiritual healer.
Yeah.
So that was also something that people looked to her for.
Yeah, and like Jacqueline, the friend, was saying that like when she was growing up, she would talk to Mama Edna about the voodoo, and Mama Edna never denied it. She was proud of her religion.
Course.
And she says, Jackie, I'm going to tell you one thing. Voodoo only takes you if you believe in it. Mm-hmm. And Mama Edna really believed in it.
But the cops continue searching the house.
Yeah.
And here's like a major development.
So this is wild. Like this is really wild.
To our surprise, we located what we thought seemed to be like an illegal gambling spot. It wasn't something elaborate like you would find in Atlantic City, but you could tell that there was tables, there was a couple of slot machines, there was chalkboards.
Okay, it's one thing to like bring down some poker tables or whatever, but
a
slot machines?
Oh my God.
Like that's wild.
Let me say something about slot machines.
Okay.
I know that they're bullshit.
Okay. Yeah.
I know that it's just to be, bring for the sounds and the glitter and,
When I was in Vegas, it was the only thing I did.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But you also have to give me the fact that they're fun.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't need some expert being like, you're never going to win anything. I know.
Is someone trying to take it away from you?
No.
Okay.
I just hear like, oh, you're wasting my... excuse me. Okay. I am paying for the experience of going to the slot that speaks to me. Maybe there's a sexy mermaid on it. Maybe there's a wolf on it. Much like if I'm rooting for a sports team, it's all down to the mascot. Whatever if you're a wolf, I got you.
We need to get a gay leprechaun mascot for some team somewhere.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Are you volunteering?
I would do it.
Okay, great.
Fam, if you're out there and
Why
you
a
got
gay leprechaun?
because I think they would they'd be good for dancing. I think it'd be good for jigging. I think
doesn't Notre Dame, isn't that the leprechaun?
Well, I'm offering this right now. If you have a sports team and you are willing to get me a gay leprechaun mascot costume, I will come to one of your games and be the mascot. I will do it.
You will do it.
I will do it. And I will bring Aaron and we will get all the social media out of it, but I will come and do it. I'll get that crowd real riled up.
You will.
You got an away team that you don't like. When they come to your home turf, you get me there in a gay leprechaun costume. We are winning that basketball tournament.
Are you going to do all the cheers from Bring It On? Because
Yes.
if you're not doing it.
Yes. Ooh, brr. It's cold in here. Must be some toros in the
Look at
atmosphere.
you.
I said brr.
Bum, bum. Now, who
It's
did it
cold in
originally?
here. Who did what originally?
That cheer. That's a stolen cheer.
Is it from oh God, Gabrielle Union's team.
You're so close.
I almost had it. What is it?
The Clovers!
Yes,
It's a goddamn leprechaun! The East Compton Clovers!
I really almost had it.
The way that you grasped it. You started this with the leprechaun.
I know.
You couldn't even finish it.
I know.
It's a shame. Anyway, the point is, sometimes slot machines are fun.
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to get a jackpot, win a jackpot there.
Yes.
Can you just let me have the sparkly wolf?
I know.
For once in my life?
I'm saying, the fact that, this illegal gambling spot, which, once again, we're going to be told is not apparently all that uncommon in New York City, which blew my mind. I know none of this blows your mind. It's because you had the authentic New York City growing up. This is crazy to me.
I'll tell you. Okay. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I knew people who worked at poker games.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Well, this one is wild because now, let's put this all together. It's in the basement of Mama Edna's house where Mama Edna was just murdered. They've got the husband downtown because he was in the bedroom next door, but didn't hear any. There's a lot going on right now.
Well, underground gambling rings also have a lot of crime attached to them.
Yes.
Robberies, murders. So it's the cops are like, is this a robbery that went bad? Is someone coming to collect a debt? Are they sending a message?
Yeah.
The fact that there's this illegal gambling ring in the basement sort of adds a whole new layer to this that's really important.
And at the very least, it seems like Mama Edna was involved in some illegal, dangerous stuff, right?
Yeah. So the cops are like, Frederick, a word. They would like to know about the illegal gambling ring.
Now, I thought this was interesting because what they're saying, they have Frederick, the husband, downtown, and they're like,
we decided not to question Frederick about the voodoo material found in his room. In the first hours of a homicide investigation, our priority is to keep a suspect cooperative and talking. At this stage, we didn't want Frederick to know we viewed him as a suspect, which could have caused him to lawyer up. But we did go hard asking about the gambling spot in the basement.
But we are going to go hard on him about the illegal gambling.
And Frederick essentially is like, the weed isn't mine, Mom. It's my friend's.
Totally.
Because he's like,
Or the upside down Trump flag isn't mine, Supreme Court Justice. It's my wife's.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Only more innocent and from high school.
Right.
Not the end of the world. Democracy as we know it. He's like, yeah, I rent out the basement. I rent it to someone and they run the gambling operation. Actually, it was really my wife ran all of it. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. And he says he's just a silent partner. He's adamant that he has nothing to do with the murder. He didn't see or hear anything. But
he said, he really does say, he's like, I'm happy to get the extra money that it brings in. He's being honest about it. But his story is that he has nothing to do with it. They rent it out to someone. And Mama Edna doesn't even have anything to do with the gambling. They just rent the space.
I'm sorry, Mama Edna, the most beloved person in the neighborhood, is now dead. It can't not be connected.
That's what I think.
You know?
I mean, I'm just not going to ignore the underground gambling ring in the basement.
Exactly.
I'm just not going to
because we kind of never really come back to it. But I don't know. Fam, when we get to the end, it's very strange.
So again, it's like, so Frederick, did he have something to do with it? Did he not? Now, Brianna, the granddaughter who found her grandmother's body, says, look, I'm going to tell you something.
My grandfather's TV was always on 24/7. He's always watching TV. His TV's always loud. The walls are pretty thick in that house as well. So if one thing is going on in one room, it's a high chance you're not going to hear it.
If you knew him, makes sense that he wouldn't have heard anything. I mean, my dad is hard of hearing, wears hearing aids. My grandfather eventually went deaf and had like his phone was so loud and also had like a light attached to it.
Yes.
So it was like, because he wouldn't hear it. Like he had to wear special headphones so he could watch the Classic Arts Showcase on PBS and watch all of his opera and his musicals and Porgy and Bess.
I'm sorry, who is this?
My grandfather.
Okay, so the gay runs in your family.
My Italian grandfather sipping his espresso, watching the Classic Arts Showcase with his special headphones. And if the phone rang, he was missing all these phone calls. And my dad was like, I can't drive all the way over, worried out of my gourd about you.
Yeah.
So that, anyway, if you're hard of, honestly, and that thing when his phone would ring and it was the old school, it was so loud, you would jump out of your skin. But there he is watching musicals, not watching opera. So you had to have the big flashing strobe light. So I'm telling you.
It's true that like it's very possible that he really couldn't have heard anything. And also, everything that Frederick says is corroborated by the cops. They do forensic testing. It shows he never touched the hammers. He never touched the wire that was on the floor. They don't think he killed Edna. They
no
rule
defensive
him out.
wounds.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah.
But they still aren't asking him about the how to get rid of a witch thing, and they never will.
Right.
And they're like, we don't really see any reason to ask him about that, and so we're just not going to bring it up.
I mean, I guess for them it's like a rabbit hole. Like, he's not the guy. He didn't do it. But like, you know, maybe it would just be like a waste of resources and time. But it's I got questions.
It's a road they chose not to go down.
Yes. And Tatiana says of her grandfather, like, he's, quote, the epitome of a Caribbean man. He doesn't show much emotion, but this was the first time she saw him cry. And he's telling the grandkids, like, our marriage wasn't always like this. Like, we really, really loved each other. We were really, like, they just grew apart over the years.
Yeah, and he's devastated, obviously. So after the trauma of being questioned about this, like, it kind of starts sinking in, and now he's facing all of the sadness because he's like, yeah, we sleep in separate rooms now, but we still love each other, and we loved each other, and, like, maybe it's not fairy tale anymore, but who cares?
Explain the how to get rid of a witch and writing her name on the thing and putting it in the thing and lighting the candle.
Put it in the freezer.
You know, well, I'm just saying.
Oh, I literally thought you were asking me what to do.
No. I'm asking Frederick. Like, I'm sure you loved each other, but you also were trying to get rid of her with sorcery.
Well, I don't know if it was Mama Edna he was trying to get rid of.
But it was her name.
It was her name.
Right.
I forgot about that part.
Does that clear it up for you?
It does.
Okay.
It does. Never mind.
So we get more from Jacqueline about how, like,
they had a lovely home. And Edna was the life of that house. She brought life to that house.
You smell that coffee every morning. You smell her bread that she makes every morning. You hear the radio playing.
And the fresh baked bread that Mama Edna made every single day.
And the cops are like, okay, but back to the illegal gambling going on in the basement. Like, that just feels like something to look into. And they look into it, and there's kind of nothing, everyone. No forced entry, no sign of robbery. Nothing was out of place. They weren't even gambling on the day of her death.
No,
like,
they find, like, the manager who was, like, running the illegal gambling spot. And they're like, we weren't even open that day.
But it's like, I'm sure you weren't.
Yeah.
Everyone's girlfriend is backstage, guy. Like, you know, like, oh, I'm sure of course you weren't gambling that day.
Right. Yeah, right. Like, there seems to be more to this part of the story. Yeah. One thing that Jacqueline says that is kind of foreshadowing, because when the cops are talking to her about how, like, there's no leads with the gambling den, one of the cops says to her, look, this is going to sound surprising to you, but we always tell people it always ends up being somebody who is really close to the family.
Always.
In these situations.
What is it? It's like 0.01% or something crazy that it's like that
it's like a stranger. Yeah. So it's March 1st, 2017. It's 2 days after the murder. Detectives are trying to figure out, like, who saw and spoke to Edna last?
So we meet Shakira, and she's another granddaughter, and she went to visit, and she was there a few hours before the murder at like 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And she says, I was there to pick up some clothes. When they say everyone was coming and going, it's true. Like, her house was such a central hub. Like, presents were dropped off, clothes were getting picked up, food was being made, people were dancing, hair was being done. It was like a lot going on.
Yeah.
So Shakira's like, I was there to pick up some clothes, and when I was there, my grandmother was talking to Tamisha.
Remember Tamisha? We learned about her in the beginning.
For 2 seconds.
For 2 seconds. And Jillian knew she was coming back.
Guess what? She's back. Her name is Tamisha Harper.
Yes.
Very, very close with Mama Edna. She was considered her best friend.
Tamisha was always in the house. Whenever she would come out from work, she would come and visit Edna to help her out, whether it would be cleaning or cooking. Edna was more like a mother figure to Tamisha, and Tamisha loved her to death.
She was like one of the kids who grew up in the neighborhood, and she's like at Mama Edna's all the time.
Yeah, and she lived across the street.
Yeah.
And so the night of the murder, again, Tamisha was outside the house with the rest of the neighborhood. And when she finds out what has happened to Edna, she instantly has a panic attack. Like, she's hysterical and she can't breathe.
Yes. And the cops are like, all right, she's the last person we know was with Mama Edna. We got to find her. We got to talk to her.
Because remember, at first, everyone thought it was an accident. They didn't tell the community that it was a murder. So the cops aren't letting anyone upstairs. They aren't telling them it's a homicide. Tamisha hears it was an accident.
Right.
And she sort of does the Homer Simpson gif where she just like slowly disappears and goes back home across the street.
Yeah, this is the night of the murder.
So when Tamisha isn't there, that's when the family learns that it actually wasn't an accident. It's ruled a murder.
Yes.
Which is important timing that Tamisha wasn't there for that piece of information.
Because on the night of the murder, after Tamisha has done the Homer Simpson gif of walking backwards into the hedges, and she's gone, no one can find her. Everyone is calling her. Remember, she's considered to be Mama Edna's best friend. Like, she's not answering her phone. They see Tamisha's brother Philip like out in the neighborhood. They're like, girl, where is your sister?
And they just assume she's grieving. That she is so distraught, because that would make sense. She was there all the time. Everyone loved Mom. Maybe everyone grieves in different ways, goes through trauma in different ways.
But then like a car pulls up near Mama Edna's house, and Tamisha's in the car. It's being driven by her boyfriend. Jacqueline runs over to the car, pounding on the window. It's like, Tamisha, girl, Mama Edna is dead. Like, we need to talk to you.
And it was a murder. It wasn't an accident. It was a murder.
And it was a murder. And you were the last person to see her. Like, you might have information here.
So Margie was saying to her, Tamisha, somebody killed my mom. Did you see anything? Tamisha did not roll down a window. She did not get out the car. She did not acknowledge us at all.
Tamisha doesn't even roll down the window.
She totally ignores them. She doesn't even acknowledge that they're there, and she drives away. Now, again, because this is a very close community, everyone is trying to give everyone else the benefit of the doubt. They just assume this is how she's handling her shock and her grief. She is totally shutting down.
Yes.
She's disassociating. They don't give this a second thought.
Right. So the detectives are like, what is going on with Tamisha? She's got to know more. She was the last person we know that saw her. But also, they're kind of worried about Tamisha, because they're like, wait a second. If Mama Edna was dead and Tamisha was the last person to see her, is Tamisha in danger? Did she see something she shouldn't have seen? Has she been taken against her will?
Because it's been 2 days.
Yes.
And Tamisha's still not home.
Right.
And she's not answering anyone's phone calls. And now they're like, okay, this is weird. So, like, did she see something she wasn't supposed to see?
Right.
Is the boyfriend involved? Like, what is going on?
Did the boyfriend kidnap her?
It's been days and days. Her phone is off. They can't track her. Like, this is more than grief. Like, this is something really scary. So the cops go to where she worked. She was an excellent employee, by the way. She hasn't shown up to work since the murder.
The cop says she was never late, always on time. I was like, that's the same compliment.
That's right.
That's one compliment
That's
disguised
also,
as two.
That's also part of it.
I know, right.
That's not like going above and beyond.
Yeah, no. Like, she was loved at her job.
She showed up.
Never late, always on time.
She showed up.
I know.
Did the work she was hired to do and went home.
Right. I mean,
model citizen.
Angel. But they also learned
that Tamisha hasn't shown up to work since the day of Edna's murder.
We conduct computer checks, and we've knocked at every door in Brooklyn. Every address that she's used in the past, everything led to negative results.
she hasn't been to work since the day of Edna's murder.
Right. So they're checking her work computer because they can't, her phone's off.
Yep.
So they're checking her work computer and they find this address in New Jersey. And they say, you're going to love this.
Yeah.
They say, detectives drive across the Verrazano Bridge through Staten Island into New Jersey. You know what I thought of?
What?
I passed through the 7 levels of the candy cane forest, through the sea of swirly, twirly gumdrops, and then I walked through the Lincoln Tunnel. Yeah. That's exactly what I thought of.
That is so good.
Buddy the Elf.
Oh, my God.
But they walk through the Verrazano Bridge or whatever.
I know him.
I know him.
Yeah, they go all the way to Jersey.
In Linden, New Jersey. And they, to this address.
Right, and they describe the neighborhood, like we see the neighborhood, like it's a nice, quiet block. They knock on the door. A woman answers. They identify themselves as like New York City detectives looking for Tamisha Harper.
She's like, oh, she's my daughter, and she's right here in the living room.
She's right here in the living room acting very, very fucking strange.
So Tamisha is there. Oh, I love the mother, like, yeah, she's right there. Coppers.
I know.
Like, what?
I'm telling you, Daisy, this will be me.
Oh, my God.
Don't test me, Daisy Judith. This will be me. She's right there.
The proper verbiage is don't fuck me on this. Do not fuck me on this.
I'm telling you, don't murder people. Don't murder people.
Just a good rule
you know
across
what I mean?
the board.
And if you murder people, you deserve to get caught. I don't care who you are.
Wow.
I know. If this were Mike, would you try to hide him?
I'd have to know the circumstances.
All right, fair.
So Tamisha is there.
Yeah.
sitting in the dark in the fetal position. She is a wreck.
They describe walking, like they are literally trying to direct a scene in a horror movie. They're like, we're walking down the hallway and the light changes and the air is dark.
And there's a tape in the VCR and it's all static.
Yeah. And they describe like walking into the living room. They find this woman, Tamisha.
It looked like she hasn't slept for days. She had this blank stare in her eyes. Her hair was all over the place, almost like it hasn't been combed in days.
Her hair is a mess. Everything's a mess. And she's just like staring off into the distance with this blank look on her face. And the cops sit down and try to talk to her. And they're like, hey, Tamisha. Hey,
girl.
Gonna just open these blinds a little bit. She's like, shh. So the cops sit down to talk with her, and they tell her that they're investigating Mama Edna's murder. And she starts to, the minute she hears those words, she starts rocking back and forth. And the cops are like, what is going on here?
I literally, like, as they were describing it, I was seeing the scene in the horror movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like they're just saying it was clear that she knew something, that she had to know what had happened to her. And so they ask her to tell them what happened that day. And she goes into a story that begins weeks before the murder.
So Tamisha says there's a woman in the neighborhood who thought that her boyfriend was interested in Tamisha.
Right.
And so this woman with the boyfriend, who's not Tamisha's boyfriend, it's like woman A thinks that her boyfriend has a thing for Tamisha. So she puts a curse on Tamisha because of this. And Tamisha asked Mama Edna for help.
Because Mama Edna, if you remember, she's a spiritual healer. She was apparently very good at removing bad demons.
Right. So Mama Edna's like, of course.
Of course.
Here's some fresh bread I made.
Of course.
Like, honestly, like,
come dance to Caribbean music in my kitchen.
Like, welcome. Let me help you because this is what I do and I'm like a caring person.
Yeah.
So according to Tamisha, the day of the murder, Tamisha is at Mama Edna's house because the curse is going to be removed that day. And that's when Shakira, the granddaughter, came by to pick up the clothes or whatever. Like that's Shakira's timeline here. She's like, I was there around 6. Tamisha was there. Tamisha says, I was there for the curse to be removed.
And Tamisha then says...
Tamisha claims she went home soon after Shakira left.
Tamisha also said that she was feeling under the weather a little bit. And that she went back home and agreed to come back later on because Edna was going to help her.
I left soon thereafter. I wasn't feeling well. I was going to come back later to have the actual curse removed.
How sick are you?
I know.
Don't you want that curse removed immediately?
Gone. Wait, if I'm going to curse, I want it gone now.
I don't care what you got going on. Even if you have food poisoning. And while you're at it, Mama Edna, get rid of this food poisoning too, please. Like anything you could do. How sick are you that you can't get a curse removed? If I'm there for that reason, this woman wants me dead. I need your help, Edna. Oh, I have the sniffles? Too fucking bad.
Also, stop fighting over these stupid men.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Of course, it's just so, like, please.
I know.
You know what? The Bears would never.
The Bears
would never.
I know.
I'd take a pack of bears any day of the week.
You know, I gotta tell you, I follow this guy on Instagram. I gotta find his handle. He's a straight man. He's like an older, heavier guy who does a lot of solo hiking to lose weight. Mm-hmm. And he had a viral thing that he had a TikTok that he made that went viral where he was like, I'm a man. I'm a solo hiker in the woods. I've been following this whole, like, women would rather meet a bear than a man in the woods. And he was saying, like, what can I, as a man who's a solo traveler, what can I do to make you feel more safe if you see me in the woods?
Oh, yeah.
And, like, a lot of the answers were really interesting. Like, women, a lot of times were like, don't ask if you can pet my dogs. Just keep walking. You know, they're like, give us space, you know, like, and he's saying now he's learned he goes off the trail and lets them pass, like makes it very clear that he's not any kind of threat or whatever. Yeah. I know there's no right. No one can do anything right.
Yeah. It's a shitty, I can't, as you're saying it, I'm like disassociate. I'm like, I can't even believe this is what we're talking about. Like, I can't believe it's come to this, honestly, that that it's just the bear every time. You know what I mean?
No matter what. Even
what.
this guy, you'd rather the bear.
I mean, now
he seems like a really nice guy.
He's lovely.
I know.
Because our phones are listening to us. I'll be served him on my page tonight.
He's great. I'm going to find his handle. I'll put it in the show notes.
So anyway, Tamisha's like too sick to get the curse removed. I don't buy it.
My thing is, like, Tamisha's trying to create a timeline here, I think. Because I don't know what the purpose of, like, leaving and coming back is. I don't believe that actually happens.
Well, she needs a reason for Shakira to have seen her.
Yes.
So, like, I was there for this and then whatever. So Tamisha comes back a few hours later.
But this time she says that she was coughing a lot. She described it as a nasty cough. And then Edna, she says, you've been touched. The spirits are in you.
She's coughing, and Mama Edna says to her, like, all of a sudden, Mama Edna gets a clarity of, like, a vision. And she says, Mama Edna looked Tamisha in the face and said, "Oh my God, you're here to hurt me."
Because Edna's like, oh, the curse is already starting to do its thing.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
this is not good at all. So Edna notices something in Tamisha and says like, oh, I know what, like, you're here to hurt me.
Yes.
Like, this curse, and I'm like, I thought the curse was about the boyfriend.
Right. And so
Tamisha.
Tamisha then laughs it off. She's like, "No, you're like a mom to me. What are you talking about?" And then like now the cops are like, "Oh my God." In telling the story, Tamisha's like starting to relive it. And Tamisha says, "Edna went upstairs and I followed her. They walk into Edna's room. Edna's back is to Tamisha, who's standing in the doorway. Edna turns around and says to Tamisha's face, 'You're here to kill me.'"
Right. And then for whatever reason, this makes something snap in Tamisha. Again, this is all Tamisha's telling of the story.
Yeah.
Mama Edna saying, "You're here to kill me," like triggers something in Tamisha
Triggers
somehow.
like a spirit is what Tamisha is trying to say. Because she says, as soon as Edna said that, I got an enormous amount of power in my body that I couldn't believe that I'd never felt before. That like the spirit recognized that Edna was going to try to like get the spirit out of Tamisha.
Yeah. This is just like weird because in anything I've read about this, I have no personal experience with this.
Yeah.
But in things I've read, you don't like remember every detail
right,
when something
exactly.
has taken over you or whatever. Like
Yep.
it's not like, and then I said this and then she said this and then it's kind of like,
Right.
Oh my God, what the fuck happened?
Because like you're not yourself. The spirit is you.
You know what I'm
the
saying?
spirit is using the body.
And also, like, the sniffles.
I know.
If you really want to get rid of a curse, you
Yeah.
get rid of the curse.
Yes.
I'm not going to come back later. I
Right.
can't.
No.
Like, please.
I agree.
I just don't buy it.
So Tamisha says the next thing she knows,
Tamisha is like zoning out, and the next thing she tells us is that she goes at Edna's neck and starts choking her out.
she's like at Edna's neck, choking her out. Then she hears Edna screaming for Frederick in the other room. Tamisha's scared. She doesn't want Frederick walking in on them. They fall to the ground. There's a hammer there, but the cops are like, but Tamisha does. She says she saw the hammer, but she doesn't mention using the hammer. But the hammer's bloody.
She knew that. So Mama Edna's yelling for Frederick, and Tamisha says, "Oh, I'm like." Then she got scared and didn't want Frederick to come in, but she then continues to assault.
Yes,
Mama Edna. But also, I thought you were all powerful because this demon has like. This is just not.
It's not making any sense.
This is not what possessed people
no,
sound like.
And this is also not what happened.
It's not what happened.
So, but Tamisha then says, I think to try to keep Mama Edna quiet, she strangles her with the cords that they found on the floor.
Right. Then Tamisha like notices blood on the floor, and she gets up and goes home and takes a shower.
Yeah. Then she calls her boyfriend and says, "I just killed Edna." And according to Tamisha, the boyfriend is like, "You got to go to your mother's house right now. I'm coming to get you."
Yeah, we got to get you out of here.
And this is what matches up with the story of the family seeing the car leaving and banging on the window, and Tamisha's not rolling down the window because she knows she did it.
Right. Or she's possessed still. I
Right.
don't know. This whole
Yeah.
like not even acknowledging the family. It's not lining up.
She also just like admits this to the cops without a lawyer. She just like tells them the entire story. She gives a full confession.
Detectives placed Tamisha under arrest for Edna Pierre-Jauques' murder. Unable to corroborate anything Tamisha alleged about her boyfriend's offer to help her escape, the Kings County DA chooses not to file any charges against the boyfriend.
So the boyfriend's not charged with anything.
And like, even didn't the family see him driving the car?
Yeah, but like,
it doesn't matter.
Did he know or did he not know?
And were they going to Jersey?
Yeah,
like at
exactly.
that moment, who knows? The family is in shock, by the way,
Yes.
because they're like, Tamisha was there every day.
She's
We
my
all
mom's best friend.
We grew up with her. We
Yes.
all grew up together. Like how
what
can this be?
Was the motive? What was the motive here? Because I do not believe for a minute that there was a spiritual possession.
But you know what? Neither does the family.
Yeah.
The family does not buy the whole I was cursed thing. Because one of the
No.
granddaughters just goes, yeah, okay. I was like, all right.
Right.
Like, everyone is over at Tamisha. Now, I cannot ignore the illegal gambling ring in the basement.
I mean, my God, it had, because we know there was no forced entry, so it wasn't like we know Tamisha did it.
Yeah.
So was Tamisha put up to it in a way that was connected to the illegal gambling ring? Because there's no, I mean, she just was not possessed by an evil spirit. That's not what this is. Like, there was a reason for this murder.
Yeah, and I think it had something to do with the gambling ring or her boyfriend or something.
Yes.
And I think she manipulated and used the spirituality and religion to make some, like, quote, crazy story.
Right.
That doesn't hold water at all.
And it's what's really frustrating is that, like, the cops don't care why, because they know that she admitted to doing it.
Yeah.
So we don't get a motive here.
Yeah, we don't get a motive, and Tamisha's allowed to plead to manslaughter
to avoid a trial.
Right, because they want to spare Mama Edna's family the traumatic experience of going through a trial. And they're like, you know what? That's okay. They agree to that. That's fine. So Tamisha gets 17 years in prison, and Mama Edna's family is just saying,
I think about her every day. Her laugh, her jokes. I miss her food a lot. But I miss her conversation. I miss her advice.
We miss her every single day.
Can I just say something that's on my mind?
Yeah.
Because it didn't feel, because 17 years is not enough. It's not enough. Because she'll be out in 12 years with good behavior or whatever. Like, I felt like they convinced the family to avoid a trial because they had a confession and like trials are costly. But if they had gone to trial and they'd actually gotten her for second-degree murder, maybe she would have gotten 50 or 60 fucking years. This person should never be back out on the street.
Well, I think there's too much. I'm just like thinking out loud here. Like I wonder if it really would have been hard to do at trial
and like prove it, I guess,
and prove it and do all like the story is so out of convoluted, and I wonder if the family was like, if we get her on something at least, and we don't have to go through the trial because they'd all have to testify. The whole community would have to go through.
It just felt to me that because they had a confession, they wanted to avoid a trial.
Sure, I mean, it definitely could be that.
And it's just that 17 years, like manslaughter, too, it's not enough. It's not. She killed her in cold blood for no reason.
Yeah, and they're just like, we miss everything about her. We miss like her food was amazing, her advice, her laugh, her smile, her voice.
They say
she loved life. She loved living her life. And that's what hurts most because someone took it away from her.
She loved life and she loved living her life.
Yep.
And somebody took that away from her and it's fucked.
Yeah, and took it away from her and her family and the community. Like she was such a pillar of that community. And now like because of something that we'll never really know.
Yeah. Can you tell Tamisha to go fuck herself?
Tamisha, go fuck yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Easy.
Done and done.
Easy peasy.
Oh my God, girl, we did.
So we just did New York Homicide. This is their third episode called Deadly Spell, but it's our like 10th bonus.
Yes. I love it so much.
Yeah,
fam, a couple of dates on the calendar for everybody on the pay. It's at the $5 level and above. You get drag bingo once a month. It's so fun. Schwa's the best.
Yep.
The next one is June 14th, and then the July one is July 12th. Mark it on the calendar.
Yes.
When you join the Patreon, you also get over like I'm going to say 500 full ad-free bonus episodes.
Close to it.
Fam, we're talking. This is where we do all the series. Right now, we're doing Quiet on Set. We did Twin Flames. We did The Curse of Mother God.
Oh yeah, no, the Cult of Mother God.
You're right. The
Love
Cult
has
of Mother
won.
God. Yeah. We're doing the Jinx Part 2 coming up like as soon as possible.
We're doing Control Alt Desire.
Yes.
We're doing that Perfect World Deadly Game. All the things that you're requesting, we're getting to them.
Curious Case of Natalia Grace.
Yes.
Insane.
Both seasons.
There's also ad-free versions of these episodes. There's a tier where we send stuff in the mail.
Yes.
We're sending out Pride Clack fans. Yep. The Hero Valve tier. If you sign up now and email us, you can get a Clack fan. We'll send one to you.
And just my personal endorsement, they clack lefty.
They clack lefty.
I wasn't expecting that.
I know.
That's fun.
What are we doing next, girl?
Okay, Gwen versus Terry, the ski crash trial.
Oh my God.
It's on HBO Max.
I watched the first 10 minutes of it the other day. I was live texting Joanne. I was like, this doesn't seem real. This seems like a fake documentary.
It is very real.
It is. Just Gwyneth's, like the look she makes with her face alone is worth watching this.
It is, I didn't really know too much about this case, but it's all about like who was in front of who.
Yeah, it's all about who was skiing downhill. That's the $300,000 question.
It's literally, there's a lot happening here. But we're also right now on Patreon, we're in the middle of Quiet on Set, and then our next bonus app is going to be another episode of that show, Smug Shot.
Oh, yay. All right, cool. All right, fam, we love you. Stay tuned for the trailer for the Gwyneth thing.
Yeah.
That's what we're just going to call it.
Gwen and Terry.
Gwen and Terry.
Gwen versus Terry.
And then our funny and hilarious outtakes. We had a lot today.
We hope, yeah.
We meandered.
Hope so.
I know. All right, fam, we love you.
All right, bye.
Bye. Terry Sanderson was suing actress Gwyneth Paltrow for over $300,000 in damages from a ski collision.
Cognitive issues, physical issues, emotional issues.
He seemed very, very sure that what he was saying was the truth.
She did not cause this accident. Terry Sanderson ran into her.
This was a good example of a he said, she said.
For Paltrow, her reputation, there was a lot at stake here.
There are people who love to hate her.
Terry Sanderson was looking to be famous and was looking to chase a celebrity.
He didn't know who it was.
Who was at fault? I think it's more likely than not that he hit her.
Essentially, the only two people in this world who know the truth are Gwyneth Paltrow and Terry Sanderson.
I'm here to prove that truth.
I did not cause the accident.
Now I'm thinking thinking about all my cool Halloween costumes I had as a kid.
What else were they?
Like a dinosaur and a witch. Very on brand from
a dinosaur and a witch. I love that for you.
Thanks.
What kind of dinosaur were you?
Stegosaurus. That was my favorite one. So,
of course.
Yeah, dinosaur. And then a couple witches.
Yeah.
Just the usual.
That's
Not
perfect.
much has changed.
Just anything like a ghoul of any kind.
Witch specific.
Okay.
And then like she made me like a purse because as I got older I was like, what am I going to carry all my stuff in?
Yeah.
She made me a purse. But the dinosaur one was like.
Cool. Do you have pictures? We have to share.
I have to find the picture. Next time I go home, I'll look up.
Send them to Aaron. We'll make some social medias and we'll put them out there on the TikTok.
I think I was like a pumpkin once.
Oh my god.
Very Halloween.
Of course. I was once an evil die, like a dice, but like an evil one.
That is such a little kid thing. You know when it's the 4-year-old, it's like he really just wants to be a vacuum. He loves vacuums. But like a vacuum with a mustache on it. He's really into vacuums and mustaches this week, so that's our Halloween. Like I love the weirdly specific little kid things.
Because I could make
like
it
a cricket
myself
with sunglasses.
But
I'm in.
The dice I could make because it was a box. So
but why did you want to be evil?
Because I thought that was scary and there was
because it was a
contest and I was
like dice but make it Halloween.
Totally. And like now you can go with sexy pizza. Like we've really evolved as a people,
We can do it all.
We can do anything.
Sexy cheeseburger. Virgin cheeseburger, like that Family Feud thing. That's a deep cut, everyone. Anyway,